Daily drawing, daily drawing, daily drawing. For today's daily drawing, you will need a sketchbook or a piece of paper. Some scissors are optional. If you don't have them, that's okay. And of course, a pencil and an eraser. We're creating a chain. We'll start with this chain, and then we'll go to this more basic one later on if this one's too much of a struggle for you. I've also linked a YouTube video of a guy doing a different method to do the chain. Okay, let's start by creating a line that our chain is going to follow. I'm going to have my chain sort of make a little snaking S shape. Next up, I'm going to be drawing a bunch of little identical ovals like that. Now, I am not very good at drawing identical ovals over and over again, so what I've done is I've gotten a piece of scrap paper and I drew a little oval shape and I cut it out. And I ended up with this. So I'm going to use this. This is going to be my oval shape. Chains come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. Some of them have rounded links like this. Some of them have more square links with just slightly rounded edges like this. So you can cut out your shape however you want. You can start in the middle or on the end and trace your oval over and over again. The key is to have a good amount of overlap from one to the next. So that is not enough overlap. I need it to really be overlapping a lot more because the chain has thickness and it needs space for that thickness to overlap. It's not just a skinny, tiny line. It's a thick, bulky chain. Next up, erase the line that goes down the center. We don't need that guideline anymore. Okay, let's add some thickness to these little chain bits. Decide how thick you want your chain to be and start at the end and just do a little oval on the inside. And there's your first chain link. Now I'm going to show you a slightly different method. I'm going to skip one and I'm going to start right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the middle point in between. If this is an eyeball shape like that, I'm going to find where the iris would be. So just right in the middle, not too far off to the side like that, right in the middle. Make a little dot, make a little dot, make a little dot, make a little dot. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to attach these two dots together using a line that curves and follows the curve of the outside line. Okay, so from there to there, and then we stop. And then we're going to connect up these two, and we're going to have a line that curves along the inside. So here's my outside. We're going to make a line that goes, it's not going to go straight from here to here, it's going to curve out along that side, and boom. So notice I went off to the left, and here I went off to the right. Now I'm going to connect those two dots. I'm going to go off to the left, and here I'm going to connect those two dots. I'm going to go off to the right, slight curve to the left, slight curve to the right, slight curve to the left, and oh my gosh, there's no more chain, so I get to go around, 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 and back, and stop when you hit that other chain. So right here, we are starting to see where the two chains overlap, right here. And now I can actually erase right here and erase right here, and I've got a lovely little chain that overlaps. This one overlaps that one. Now it starts to get really easy. Now I can see I'm missing a part of this. I've got the outside of that chain. It's going behind those two. So I'm just gonna add the inside like boom. And now let's look here. I've got one line, so I've got two sides of my chain. 1, 2, and then over here I've only got the outside. I need to add the inside, so I'm just gonna go boop. And right here I'm adding the inside. Boop. And now here, what I've got going is that other method. I need to figure out which side I want to be overlapping, and I'm going to erase that away. So I can decide that this side is overlapping. Boom, and then this side is overlapping here, so I just would need to erase that. That way it's a little harder and more confusing. If the way I just showed you was a little too hard for you, go ahead and watch that YouTube video. He does a similar style, but in a different way. He does it backwards from what I just did. And you can certainly try that too and see if it's easier for you. Either way, you'll end up with a neat chain. And so what you need to do next is go around and erase. We can't have see-through chains. So anywhere it overlaps, we want to erase in the middle. This one's on top, so I need to erase that line right there. If you accidentally erase a line you were supposed to have, just draw it back in. And we've got a chain. I'm gonna go over it one more time with a little bit harder pressure. And I'm done. Let's try a slightly easier version with only a few. So go ahead and give me just a few overlapping ovals. 1, 2, 3. I made them all pointing in the same direction, but you can have them pointing in different directions to give it a little bit of a curve. So 1, 2, 3, they've got to have that big overlap. And you can actually draw a little tiny eye shape inside your big eye shape. So here's my big eye. You can draw a little eyeball in there. Here's my big almond shape if you don't want the eyeball shape, the almond shape, and draw a little almond shape in there. And then we're going to take the point of one baby almond, I should say, and go to the point of the other baby almond. Boop. So you can see this side, and now it's going to go underneath right here. I know it's going to go under, so that one's got to go up and over. Right here, I know it's going to go under, so this one's got to go up and over. And then this one just needs to come out from behind and imaginary connect up with that spot. And now all I've got to do is finish off those last ones. And right here, I just need to keep it going. Trying to keep it the same width. That's kind of the hard part, really. It's a little bit of a brain twister, and then keeping that the same width the whole way around is quite challenging. There we go. Now right here, I've done some extra stuff. I have shaded it. And I've added, see these little bumps? That's where the chain got welded shut. So you can add that for some extra detail. I've added a cast shadow in here. So you can really make this as 3D as you want. I also want to show you that you can, this is the square option. You can have them be more squared off if you don't like that rounded look. There's all sorts of things you can do with the chain. And if you give it just a little, if you overlap them more, you'll get this little bit of a window here, and it'll make it look like it's looser. See how those two look loose? And if you don't overlap very much at all, it'll look like they're really, really tight together like this. You can take your chain, and using this method I showed you here where you start with one line, you can wrap chains around all sorts of things. You could do something that we've drawn before. Here I made a peace sign. I was inspired by yesterday's, and I just took my chain and I wrapped it in and around that. You could play around with wrapping it around fingers and a hand. If you're good at drawing people, you could have it be wrapping around the people somehow. Maybe they're chained up. Okay, have fun making your chains. Try to get me one that's as elaborate as you possibly can. Before you're done, ask yourself, is it the best I could possibly do? What else could I add to make it really pop? Right here, I made my peace sign, I made my chain, and I thought, it's not popping. So I went ahead and I shaded the background. It took a long time, but it was worth it because I love my final artwork. Make sure you absolutely love what you're doing. Otherwise, why? Why?